So what I want to do today is just share with you a verse from the Bible and a little story. And then over the coming weeks, particularly up to Easter, we're going to look at the story of Jesus as he prepares for his death and resurrection. So the story I have today is based around the passage from the Bible, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that everyone who believes in him would not perish but would live forever. And this is a wonderful passage. It's a passage that's full of hope at a time when we're really struggling with fear and uncertainty. But the story I want to tell you is actually the story of a little boy who went for a walk with his father. And as he walked along, as is often the way with young children, he walked along on a laneway. He noticed all the different things ahead of him, and he began to get very excited, and he started to run ahead and to explore. And as he went along and explored, he got a little bit further away from his father each time, until finally he came across a large stone in the middle of the laneway. And the stone was just about, he was just about able to lift it up. And when he lifted up the stone, the most amazing world was to be found underneath. It was a world full of activity and life, and it was a fascinating world to this young boy, because it was actually an ant colony living under that rock. And as he rolled the rock away from the ant colony, the first thing the ants started to do was they began to organize themselves. Their roof, their shelter had been taken away. So they began to actually gather up all the things around them. They began to pick up the other ants, the smaller ants. They began to pick up the food. They started putting on their back, and they started creating this most amazing long line of ants as they searched for a new place to live. The little boy watched with wonder and fascination, but he began to realize that some of them were struggling. So he bent down and he picked up one of the ants to help move him along. But as he did so, because he was so big, he ended up squashing the ant. And so he thought to himself, I have to be more careful. I have to try this again. So he bent down and very carefully scooped up another ant. But again, because of his size, he ended up killing it and squashing it. And he looked back at his father, who had just joined him, and there was tears in his eyes. And he said, Dad, if only I was the size of an ant, then I could save them. Those words, if only I was the size of an ant, then I could save them. They're words that resonate with exactly what God was doing when he sent his son Jesus into the world. He could see how much we were struggling. He could see how hard we were finding it. He could see how difficult it was for us to try things on our own. And so he looked to his father and said, if only I could become one of them. He knew his power and his majesty was too strong, that he would hurt us if he used his supernatural power to save us. So by becoming one of us, by being born into a stable, by living the life that we live, by experiencing the fears and the uncertainties that we feel, he was able to walk that journey with us. And then he was able to carry on his shoulders, because he's God, the sins, the wrong things that we do. And he was able to bring those to the cross and to nail them there with his broken body. And then on Easter Sunday to rise again to new life and to save us from our brokenness, from our limitations and from our sins. So over these next 2 weeks, we're going to release a couple of these videos and these stories, an opportunity for you to think about the journey to Easter and what it means, not just in terms of Easter eggs or succeeding in what we've given up, but what it means in terms of knowing God better and knowing how much he loves us each and every day. Thank you.